Okay, so now let's look at this Sutram 4115. Tidhanai dvayasaj dagnai matrach thak thai kai kvarapaha. This is a list of affixes which are given here, except the first one is it says tit, so it refers to any affix which has takar as a it, which is what we are interested in right now because we just formed this pratipadikam nishachara, this samastam pratipadikam nishachara using the affix ta by chareshtaha. So we have a tit affix. So that is why we are taking this Sutram 4115 to explain the importance of the takaras and it in the affix ta. This Sutram really is right now not the main subject. We are not focusing on forming feminine forms, but since we had an affix which had a special takaras and it, we are taking this one just to see the importance of that. But otherwise, this is just a kind of a one-off sutram we are taking right now. We'll be discussing the topic of striyam in detail much later on, maybe after a year or so. Okay, so the striyam adhikara starts from 413 in the Ashtadhyayi. See, now we are jumping to a different section of the Ashtadhyayi. It's always important to keep track of that. And we have the adhikara striyam starting from 413, which we have already studied, the sutram ajadyatashta, which is 414. And this actually we also looked at rinnebhyo neep, which is 415. So, and also na shat swasradibhya 4110. So we are not completely unfamiliar with this section. Now we are going to 4115, and anuvritti of neep. Anuvritti of neep is coming down here from 415. Rinnebhyo neep. Let us now look at the vritti of this sutram. It says that anuprasarjanam yat tidadi tadantam yadadantam pratipadikam tatah striyam nipsyat. Okay, it says that to denote the feminine gender, so striyam, the affix nip is used. So nipsyat, following a pratipadikam, because let's not forget that we are in the adhikara of 412. I'm sorry, 411. Nya pratipadika. Nya pratipadika. That's why I said we are jumping to a different section of the Ashtadhyayi. This Sutram 4115 is not in the Dhato Adhikara. It's the Adhikara of 411 Nya pratipadika. So this affix is being prescribed following a pratipadikam, not a dhatu. Of course, because the pratipadikam has gender. Dhatus don't have genders. So it's obvious, but good to keep track of the adhikara and ashtadhyayi. This pratipadikam which satisfies the following condition. This pratipadikam, in order to take this affix nip striyam in the feminine to get the feminine form, this pratipadikam has to satisfy a couple of conditions. One is that the pratipadikam should end in akaraha. That is the vritti of ataha, which is coming from 414 ajadyatashta. That ataha runs down in the striyamadhikara. Ataha. So wherever possible, this pratipadikam should end in akaraha for these rules to apply in the striyamadhikara. That's one condition. Second thing is that the pratipadikam ends in a non-secondary affix. What is this non-secondary affix? We'll look at an example to explain that concept of non-secondary affix. Right now, since we have not discussed compounds in details, we may not be able to fully appreciate this concept, but we'll take an example to explain that. So for the time being, you can ignore this. We're going to take an example in a few minutes to go through this non-secondary affix. That is the anupasarjanam. Anupasarjanam. We have defined upasarjanam by 243. Prathama nirdishtam samasa upasarjanam. Upasarjanam also has a non-technical meaning, means apradhanam. Upasarjanam is secondary. So anupasarjanam means non-secondary. Understand that? So upasarjanam means secondary. Anupasarjanam means non-secondary. So that is the anupasarjanam. We'll come to that when we look at the example. But in terms of the Ashtadhyayi sequence, anupasarjanat is coming down from 4114. This anupasarjana also runs through this triyam adhikara. 4114 anupasarjanat. So that is coming down from 4114, and the pratipadikam should end in this non-secondary affix, which is either tit, which has takar as an it, which we have right now, or in one of the following affixes: dha, an, ay, dvayasaj, dagnach, matrach, tayap, thak, thai, kai, kvarappa. These are all various affixes. These couple of one affix we have already looked at. For example, in the sutram karmanyan, kumbham karoti to kumbhakaraha. That kumbhakaraha, if you want to make a feminine form, become kumbhakari. Kumbhakari. That's by this same sutram. Of course, we'll study other rules also which prescribe the affix an, but some of these we have not studied, like this affix dha, dvaya, saj. Some of these are tadita pratyaha, which is a topic we have not really touched so far. Anyway, we'll come back to this sutram when we study these various affixes, and that time we'll make a mention of the fact that these affixes, the pratipadikam ending in these affixes, when in the feminine, takes the affix neep. Okay, but right now let's focus on the first part, which is a tit affix. So we had this form nishachara, which we derived by adding the affix ta to the dhatu char with the upapadam. This nisha is upapadam. So now when we want to make a feminine form of it, so nishayam charati iti nishachari nari. So a lady who roams, or we say Rakshasi, we can say. The Rakshasi who roams about at night. So nishachara plus neep, because we do have a pratipadikam. This has a pratipadika sanya by krit tadita samasascha, 1 to 43. This pratipadikam ends in a akaraha, that also we have. And we also have it ending in the affix ta, which is a tit affix, because in the affix ta by chutu, the adi takaraha has the it sanya. So we have satisfied the conditions, and we do want to express a feminine gender. So the affix neep is added. In the affix neep, the pakara is a it by halantyam, the nyakara is a it by lashakvatadhite, and then both of them take lopaha by tasya lopaha. And then now this affix neep is in this adhikara of 412, which is so just some out, etc. So it is a swadi pratyaha. Remember, the swadi pratyaha run from the sutram 412 to end of chapter 5. So neep is a swadi pratyaha. Anubandha lope, on removing the markers, it is a ajadi pratyaha. So therefore, by yachibham, this nishachara gets the bha sanya by yachibham. It's followed by a swadi pratyaha, which is ajadi. Anuvritti of swadishva sarvanamasthane comes comes down from 1417 to 1418. So this neep is a swadi pratyaha. It does not have the sanya sarvanamassthanam. So by yachibham, this nishachara gets the bhasanya, and that enables us to apply the sutram 64148 yasyeticha in the next step, because yasyeticha says that ivarnantasya bhasanyakasya lopa bhavati tadhite yikare cha pare. So this is a sutram which is a very important sutram. We are going to see a lot more of this sutram as we go along. Recall the vritti of this sutram says ikare tadhite cha pare vasye varna varnayor lopaha. So bhasya ivarna avarnayoho. Ivarna varnayoho. So ivarna or avarna means ivarna varnayor lopaha. So a angam which has the bhasanya, which ends in the ivarnaha, means ikara atva ikaraha, or the avarnaha akaraha atva akaraha, then such an angam takes lopaha. Lopaha means alontyasya, 1152. The ending ivarnaha atva avarnaha takes lopaha, when followed by an affix which is a tadhita pratyaya or a ikaraha. Right now we have a ikaraha. We have nishachara which has the bhasanya. It ends in a akaraha which is a avaranaha, and it has the bhasanya by a chibham, and it's this nishachara angam is followed by a ikaraha. So therefore this ending akara of nishachara takes lopaha by yasyeticha, and we get nishachar plus e, nishachari. So this is how this form nishachari is derived. From the pratipadik nishachara we get nishachari as a feminine form, adding this affix neep. Now we mentioned that anupasarjanam. What is the significance of anupasarjanam? The Siddhanta Kaumudi says upasarjanatvan neha means upasarjanatvat na iha, means in the following example the affix nip is not used because the affix ta which is being used in this following example does not have primary significance. It is not the main term. It does not have primary status. It is only secondary. So what's this example? The example is bahavaha kuruchara yasyam sa bahukuruchara nagari. This is what is called as a bahuvrihi compound. A bahuvrihi compound in very simple terms is an adjectival compound, which means that the meaning of the entire compound, it points to a term, a thing or item or a person who is not in the compound. Who is not in the compound. Take an example like Pitambaraha, Vishnu, the god who wears a yellow cloth. Now in the compound we only have Pitambaraha. Pitam ambaram yasya saha. Now neither the pitam nor the ambaram has primary importance. The primary importance, the significance of the whole compound is Vishnu, not the yellowness or the cloth. So this is in very simple terms the fundamental idea of bahuvrihi compounds. So it makes sense that in a bahuvrihi compound every single term in the compound, every single padam which compounds in there is going to have less importance because it is not going to be directly pointing to what the whole compound is standing for. So that's why it is often said that sarvopasarjano bahuvrihi. Sarvopasarjanaha means every padam in a bahuvrihi compound is a upasarjanam. So upasarjanam, we know the meaning, we know the technical definition given by Panini. 1.243 says prathama nirdishtam samasa upasarjanam. But upasarjanam also has a meaning in the language which means that it is secondary, gaunam. Apradhanam is upasarjanam. So upasarjanam also means that it is something which is secondary, which is not primary, indirect we can say also. So in a bahuvrihi compound every padam is upasarjanam because the simple reason that the compound is adjectival. It points to something else which is outside the compound. So this is a bahuvrihi compound. It's talking about the nagari, something. So it is a city or a town in which there are many people who roam about in the Kuru territories. So kurushu charati iti kurucharaha. So kurushu charati iti kurucharaha, one who roams about in the Kuru territories. So that is kurucharaha. Now that affix ta has been used here in forming kuru, just like we form nishachara, same way kuruchara. Very similar derivation. But that affix ta is only connecting with kuruchara, not with the nagari at all. So that is why this affix ta, which is a tit affix of course, has been used here, but it does not have primary status. It doesn't have primary importance because the term kuruchara itself is a upasarjanam. It is secondary. So now we cannot invoke 4115 and bring the affix neep after the entire pratipadikam bahukuruchara because this anuvritti of anupasarjanam is coming down from the prior sutram. This is adhikara which runs through this triyam this adhikara of anupasarjanam. So that is how Panini prevents these affixes from applying when we have these feminine affixes from applying when we have a case like this where the condition which is required to apply this feminine affix, in this case neep, is that
affix based on which NEP is coming should have primary status, and here it does not, because the fact that Kuruchara is secondary in the compound, it is not the primary member. It in a Bahuri compound, every member of the compound is secondary status because the compound is adjectival. So this is an example where we can understand, we can see why the anupasajanam is an important condition. We have to make sure that this affix, the tit affix or whichever affix that is triggering the NEP should be primary and not secondary. This example is not too clear right now. Don't worry about it. We'll be coming back to the sutram many times as we study compound later on. This is an important sutram, and we're going to revisit this number of times. If you're not understanding the whole thing right now, it's okay. It'll become clear as we go along. This is an important concept, and we will be coming back to it over and over because this concept of upasarjanam is ingrained in the topic of compounds, which we'll be studying in great detail. So this will become clearer at that time also.